Hey, buddy. You ready?
Hell yeah.
Shay, welcome to the show. We got a lot to go over. We got jet boat racing to go over. You guys being, how many generations have you guys been here
Oh, shoot.
in Idaho?
I think my family has been 5 generations.
Let's just get into it. Shay, where are you from? Who are you?
Well, I was born in 1987 in Nampa. Grew up in Meridian. It's been, I think, lived in houses about a mile apart from each other.
Really?
Like all the houses
your whole life?
Been a mile apart from each other.
Your parents are in a really cool spot. That's a tucked away little hidden gem back there.
That is we used to shoot geese off the farmer's field right behind us.
No kidding.
Yeah, when
no,
we were
it's
growing
all
up.
just pure track homes.
Yep. And, we had a bull right behind it because there was a farmer right behind, or a rancher right behind. And then we had the farmer field. But then there was this big, huge Angus bull, like massive. And my dad caught a little kid sneaking through to go to his house because the rancher was still there. And the kid was going to walk through the bullpen. That blew my mind. I could not understand that one. But yeah, I grew up here, went to Eagle High School, went to college in Eastern Oregon.
What college?
Eastern Oregon University.
Okay.
Yeah, I
That makes sense.
ran track there.
You were a track runner.
I was a track runner.
Really?
I walked on at Treasure Valley Community College. Spent 2 years there. Eastern Oregon recruited me to actually go run at the university.
Nice.
Which was really cool, really fun. Met a lot of really neat people. Still have a lot of connections there.
Yeah.
Which helps in a few other things that I do. But yeah, I build and repair aluminum jet boats right now.
Which is pretty awesome. I definitely want to get into this side of things.
Yeah, my dad's been doing it since 1973 when he built his first boat. And that was just a project that the guy he was working for was like, hey, we got to learn how to do aluminum. And I want you to have a project. So we decided to build a boat. And from there, it just escalated.
And that is what it is today.
It is what it is today, and I have taken over the business. My dad retired in January.
Did he? Good for him. How's your mom feel about that?
Oh, she loves it.
Yeah.
She retired from the school, and after 30 years, 40 years in education.
Yeah.
And so they've been getting out and doing some fun stuff. I've been kind of encouraging them. Grady and I both have been encouraging them. But he's still out in the shop. Let's put it that way. He's still out there.
Yeah. How do you feel about that now that it's kind of your baby? Are you like, I'm sure he's got, but then again, at the same time, you guys have worked together your whole life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you know how things should be done.
Yeah. And in college, I got all my welding certs.
Yeah.
And he will forget more with the boating side.
Oh yeah.
Than I'll probably ever learn.
You'll get there.
Yeah, I'll
You'll
get there one day.
Yeah. No, it's just you're next in line.
Yeah.
So growing up here in Idaho, what was it like in the good old days?
Oh, the good old days. You could walk across the street, or you would. Okay, let me restart this. You might edit that. But what it was you could drive 10 minutes and be in the middle of nowhere. That's what it was like.
Yeah.
And now it takes me an hour to get to that same spot.
I mean, I hear these guys and they're like, man, we used to hunt down on the river and turkey hunt every year, and now it's just all the green belt is just track homes. And
some of my customers, they would shoot ducks down there.
Crazy to think.
Right in the middle of the star. Not a problem. I mean, we were right on the border off of Ustick.
Yeah.
That was the Meridian city border.
No kidding.
And now Meridian is 50 square miles. Mm-hmm. That's nuts to me.
Wild, huh?
You're
one of those, I remember when Eagle was a dirt road.
You have no idea how much Katie hates that. Because it's like, oh yeah, that village. Take the village as an example. Okay, that used to be a soccer field. It was also a dairy.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
I like how the guy across the street's holding out.
That's all Kleiner. That's all the same people.
Yeah, they're just holding on to that little piece of nugget for him.
Yep.
Now they're putting the XL in, or the Village XL or some shit like that. They're expanding it, and it's going to be twice as big. And
Out at 10 Mile, that'd
be interesting to see.
be interesting. Yeah.
So your old man, he's a fascinating guy. He is from just the knowledge he has on these rivers and everything that he's passed on to you and your brother. How has that been growing up? Like just being able to watch him bring you guys along on that journey that he was a huge part of his life and your mom's life. Because I mean, your mom was just as engulfed in it as he was, and you guys are now.
Yeah. Well, watching my dad over the years, he'd be driving the boat, and I'd be looking over his shoulder. Grady'd be looking over his shoulder. You know, we'd kind of switch off, and we'd see what was going on. We could understand reading water really young, and understand the river will tell you where to go.
How? Yeah, I've you and I've spent enough time on boats together. You've taken me up some pretty freaking wild boat rides on the old Green Monster. You still have that thing?
Yeah.
You do?
Oh yeah, we have both of them still.
Oh, cool. So, and then you guys are, especially being with Josh and going out on that giant machine that he had, and you guys are always talking about reading water. Explain this to me.
Well, reading water is what you're trying to avoid is rocks.
Yep.
And most of the guys will go right through the middle of a rapid, which is a wave train, which most of the time there's not any rocks in the middle of the wave train just because it's the deepest part and free flowing. But when a rock has a pour over where the water's pouring over the rock, it'll actually tell you that there's a rock there.
Yep.
It takes guys years and years and years and years to understand what that means. I mean,
Really?
I've fixed so many guys, new boaters' boats because they've tried and they just don't understand what they're looking at, and that's fair. I mean, they just bought a boat, and we've tried to we've taken guys out, taught them. Now they're teaching people.
Nice.
Which has been real fun. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a generational thing with my dad learning from the old timers.
Yep.
You know, the Chuck Cobles, the Roger Browns, those kind of guys. You know, and probably some of the viewers aren't going to know who those people are, but they were kind of pioneers. Daryl Bentz was a pioneer.
You're talking these pioneers. I mean, okay, so people listening, the rivers we have here are not, they're not friendly.
No.
And you can really, really catch yourself sideways very fast in some of these waters, especially depending on the time of the year. So when you talk about these old timers, what the hell were they hitting these rapids in and these rivers in? I mean, were they jet boats then, or are these like big, lunky?
Well, actually, back in the day, Glenn Wooldridge, he owned Wooldridge boats.
Okay.
He would take a prop boat, like a big long sled, like you see at like Buoy 10, like a guide boat. He'd take those with props on them up the Salmon River at low water, all the way up to Salmon, Idaho, which is probably 125 miles.
And he's making it.
And he's making it. Yeah, he has to change props all the time. But that was the beginning of it. I mean, there's a lot of...
That was my next question. Like, is he doing it on one prop? No. He's just going and just bringing a freaking barrel full of props and just changing them out?
Pretty much, yeah.
Good Lord.
But then down in New Zealand, they developed the jet unit.
Okay. Oh, is that where it came from?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fascinating. I didn't know that.
Hamilton. I can't think of his first name
Okay.
right now, but he started developing them down there because they have shale rock.
Yeah.
They have more delta rivers. But Hamilton, we got some of those pumps over here.
Yep.
And they started putting them in boats and running these rapids, rivers that are shallow, really hard to navigate. There's nothing sticking underneath a jet boat.
Yeah.
It's all flat. You know, you get delta pad and kind of angles, but that's it. There's nothing under there.
So you're running really shallow.
Yep. And so all these pioneers, with the way boats are set up now, Daryl Bentz, Bruce Oakes, those kind of guys, they were building these big boats and taking them up everything.
Really?
You know, I know there's videos out there of Daryl doing some crazy stuff. There was a wooden, first one he built was a wooden jet boat.
A wooden jet boat?
It was a wooden one. And it's actually still in Moscow.
Really?
It is still intact.
No kidding.
Yep.
That's pretty wild chaos.
Yeah, that was cool.
I mean, to think back in the day, because I mean, when you're standing on the edge of the river, because I remember there was a couple times where we were up in some pretty, I don't know what that rap is called. It's north of Castle Rock, like up the river a ways, where we'd go sturgeon fishing and all that.
Big leg.
But man, we would sit on the shore there, and you guys would pick your lines. That's pretty intimidating. I mean, when you're standing on the edge down there and you're like, God, if I fall in, I'm done, let alone taking a wooden boat up those things where those guys were like, yeah, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Like like goes back to the age old joke. Like that's why women live longer than men, because, you know, a normal person would look at that and be like, you're going to die. And of course, these good old boys were like, let's slap a jet engine or a
Yeah, jet pump
pump
on one of these, and then put a 350 behind it, Chevy engine, and
that weighs God knows what.
Yeah, go up the river. Well, and that's the interesting part, you know, with that wooden boat.
Mm-hmm.
They found the jet unit and the engine from a boat crash. The logging, they used to log the Clearwater. I think it was the Clearwater, but they found it. Daryl and Rusty found it, and then they're like, "Oh, let's build a jet boat."
And they just put it in there, and that's how it started it all.
That's how it started it all with Ben's Boats. You know, that's a company that we are good friends with.
Yeah.
And they've pioneered everything. But it's cool how finding it.
Yep.
And there's a whole
history behind it.
Yeah, there's a whole TV show on it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So how old were you when your dad had you out there on this? Was it all your whole life?
I was 6 months old.
Really?
I was
when you
6
guys were
months
running the rivers?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I was just hanging out, obviously. But yeah, they had me on the water at 6 months running rivers.
No kidding.
Yeah, I actually said my first cuss word on a river trip up to Salmon.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was 32,000 CFS.
Explain this.
So CFS is cubic feet per second water coming down. It's
Yeah.
really high on the Salmon at 32,000.
Okay.
It's one of the rapids in there is really, really gnarly. Most of them are gnarly, but that one especially. And my dad starts coming down, and my dad's friend is holding me. And
You probably didn't even have a life jacket on back then.
oh no, I did. Oh, that's definitely a big thing.
It's one of those things where you just let all your kids in the back of the truck on the highway when we were little. You know, now
That's
it's
true. Yeah.
so.
But no, like Dad starts coming down this rapid, and he yells out, or he's like, "Everybody, hold on!" And then my dad's friend Dawn just goes, "Oh shit!" And so I wake up because I was asleep, and I'm just like, "Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!"
And that's where it all started.
That's kind of where that there's a big joke about
Yeah.
that in the family, but yeah, the CFS. You would think water coming up, things would get hidden.
That's how my mind works.
But the thing is there's those things that are getting that are just barely getting covered that are making it even bigger.
Oh, okay.
So like the bank, how it works, you know, you start bringing water this way. Well, those rocks out there are now creating rapid.
So you're almost getting twice the amount. I always thought like the lower the worse.
In my opinion, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The bigger, so you would need boats like Josh's.
Got it.
You know, to do the bigger stuff. But
Yeah.
that big boat wouldn't work really well in low water.
No.
No, you'd hit everything. And I know guys that'll do it in low water with twins, but it's not a good idea.
You're rolling the dice.
Yes, and that with the way boats are costing right now, that's
No.
not the best idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, like my first boat was a 20-foot boat that my dad had built for me for my graduation present from high school.
Yeah.
And I learned on that. So I learned low water. And if you can
okay.
run a river in low water, you can run it in high water.
So is that kind of like, is that how a lot of guys test themselves, is on the low water and being able to hit certain chunks of the river? Is that kind of like the flex in the jet boat world?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad ran the Payette River just up out of Horseshoe Bend.
Yeah.
And they did it at 1,600 CFS. Which
That's pretty low.
That is insane low. It's just gnarly low. They hit 3 rocks on the way down, but
Is it easier going upriver or downriver?
It's a lot easier going up because you actually have control. The water's pushing against you, and you can kind of slide over and do stuff. But when you're coming down, the water's pushing you, so you'll get pushed in a different direction. So that's when stick steering. You know, we don't. Most of 99% of the jet boat world does not use steering wheels anymore.
Which the first time I ever saw this was like I was trying to comprehend like what I was actually watching with the stick steer, and it was a whole different world for me.
Well, it's just like riding a bike.
Yeah.
You know, you got your hands like this, and, you know, whichever way your head turns, like this, is the way you're going to go. So whether you're having your left hand or your right hand, there's a whole debate about that. Right hand, left hand stick.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter to me because
Yeah.
I'm doing it my whole life. But you push it forward. If it's in the right, you push it forward and go left.
Yep.
Pull it back, you go right. And you can actually move it fast enough forward and back that you'll go in a straight line.
I've seen that.
Yeah, steering wheel, 3/4 locked, or well, probably one turn to go right, and then you got to go 2 turns just to go left.
Yeah. So it's a speed thing is what it comes down to. It's just being able to turn immediately because I mean, I've watched where you guys have like turned hard and lifted your boat out of the water to kind of hover like to drift over a rock at a certain angle and different speed, and you couldn't do that with a steering wheel.
Probably not. No. I mean, there's guys out there who'll do it, but it's really risky.
Yeah.
So it's so much easier. I mean, I put little kids in my boats and let them drive. They'll pick it up in 2 minutes.
Oh, I bet.
It's that easy.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just like riding a bike.
Yep.
But kind of lost track where we were.
No, you're good. The flow. We were kind of talking about, you know, your dad ran the Payette when super low.
Yeah, he ran that, and actually it turned into being my brother's boat. They ran that, put a couple dents in it, whatever. We work on them.
Yeah.
It doesn't bug us.
Yeah, right.
Rule of thumb in the family is you dent it, you fix it. So he did that. I took mine up all the way to Banks. They didn't make it to Banks that day just because there's no way.
Yeah.
But I took mine at 4,200, my 20-footer, which is basically the same hull as the one they did that in, and took that all the way to Banks.
How far is that?
It's about an hour drive up through the river, but it's like 15 minutes from Horseshoe Bend.
Yeah. So when you guys are learning all of this, like are there certain stretches of any rivers that like give you guys the heebie-jeebies?
Oh yeah.
Which like what? What's a famous one that just eats boats?
Granite used to eat boats all the time.
Where's Granite?
Granite and Wild Sheep are in Hell's Canyon.
Okay.
The Hell's Canyon National Recreation Area.
Okay.
Up out of Riggins, Whitebird area. That was it would eat a lot of boats.
What do you mean was? Why do you say?
A lot of guys are running twins now. And
Okay.
Not pushing the limits as hard, not having to.
Okay.
It still eats boats, don't get me wrong. But they're just very technical.
What makes it technical? Like the steps or the elevation climb or drop? Like what makes something technical for a jet boat?
Very skinny area.
Okay.
I mean, there's a couple rapids that look exactly like Granite, but they're in a wider stretch, so that water isn't getting forced into a tiny little area.
And so you have a little bit more playroom, and it's much quicker, obviously, when it pinches.
Yep, it's a lot faster. Granite drops 15 vertical feet in 15 feet.
It drops 15 feet in 15 feet.
Yep, so 1 foot every foot.
So when you're coming down, you're hauling ass through there.
Yeah.
So if you don't have your line picked, are you screwed?
In that one, there's definitely lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely lines. There's 3 of them that I know of, and one of them is I've never seen anybody do it, but I know people have done it.
Yeah, you've never witnessed it?
No, never witnessed it. But one of the guides used to do it.
Yeah.
And it was completely blew my mind. I didn't know how he did it. But yeah, there's different water levels will create different lines.
Yeah.
You know, safer lines. You don't want to go through the middle of Granite at 50,000. There's no reason to.
Okay.
So you would go all the way to the Idaho side and go up that side. We call it skirting, which a rapid has a tongue in it,
Okay.
and you look for the tongue. And
Is the
so-
tongue where that pinches and comes out toward the bottom?
Yeah, where the wave train starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the tongue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the nice green water.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be the tongue. And you don't have to go through the middle of anything. You really don't have to.
Okay.
And so you can just kind of skirt the side of the bank and
Yeah.
then go up the river. Most of the places that we do, we skirt everything.
Yep.
And especially in a race boat, that's what you do. You skirt it. But granite and wild sheep, that was the one that would stop my family, just because we could run it in my dad's boat, one he built back in '93. It'd be fine. But there was no reason, because they're a mile apart. There's nothing in
okay.
there. I didn't need to see anything in the middle of that, in between that.
You're just rolling the dice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so there's only a mile stretch in between. So you're right on each other and you're not missing anything at that point.
Yeah, you're not missing anything. And then we'd go to the dam and go steelhead fishing and things like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, cool. We'd seen the dam. I don't need to see it again. It's
Right.
just one of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to go run it. I run it in my boat, my 24-footer now.
Oh, you do?
I do. Yeah. And if Josh hadn't sold Red, I'd be running it in Red.
That was such an amazing boat.
That was a cool boat. I enjoyed working on that one and just having fun on it.
That thing just ate everything up.
It did. Yeah, the original owner of that boat really made it awesome. And then Josh just escalated it.
Just 10x to everything on it.
Yeah, he did. And it was just a neat experience to be part of that whole project.
Oh, I could imagine, especially like the history you guys have of building boats and being part of them, to be able to, just see, you guys put a lot of work into those boats.
Yeah, we do.
So what got you and your brother and the white boy racing? What even, I don't even I feel like if my kids came and were like, Dad, we want a jet boat race to rivers, I'd 100% be in. But at the same time, like, oh God, this is going to be a nightmare. How did you and your brother decide to get into racing jet boats up rivers here out in the Northeast? I'm sorry, Northwest. I don't even know why I said Northeast. Up here in the Northwest, because, these rivers aren't for the faint of heart. And now you guys are doing, how fast are these jet boats going? I think you and I did well over 100, right? On a couple stretches.
Yeah, we were a little over 100.
And you're on the water. Like when I say on the water, like you were inches. Like these are low pro jet boats with fins on the front, and you guys are racing these things from point A to point B as fast as you can. What the hell possessed you guys to want to get into something like this?
It was a bucket list.
It was a bucket list.
It was my bucket list.
Really?
Yeah, Grady and I were in college, and I saw that the World Championships in 2012 were going to be strictly in Idaho, which hadn't happened in a long time. Just strictly in Idaho. And it was rivers that I always wanted to run.
Yeah.
There was one thrown in there that no one had ever raced it, and which was fine. It was a good starter for us.
Okay.
Yeah, it had the St. Joe River, had the Snake River in Lewiston, and then it had Clearwater from Lewiston to Orofino, which was a way old school race that I wanted to do really badly. And then it had the infamous Salmon River, which is the longest running jet boat race in the United States.
How many miles?
That's only 10 now. Back in the day, they used to go from Hammer Creek all the way to Riggins, which Whitebird to Riggins.
What was it back then? How many miles is that on the water?
Oh man, I can't.
A lot more than 10?
A lot more than 10. That was a long, grueling race, and it had massive rapids in it.
Really?
you drive up 95.
Yeah.
And
You get to watch it.
you get to see it, and they were running that stuff.
How?
They were just crazy back then. They were crazy.
Is that why they shortened it? Is it just too much or what?
No, actually, I think ISP shortened it. Idaho State Police shortened it.
Interesting.
There were so many spectators along and people parking that I think there was an incident and they couldn't get to it. So they had to.
That sucks.
It does. But the boats today would not handle it.
Why?
They're built different. They're lighter.
Lighter?
They're lighter. They're faster. Back in the day, they were doing. Joe Scott was doing 100 mile an hour, and he was the man.
In a big heavy boat too.
In a pretty heavy boat. You know, it was a tunnel hull, but it was still a heavy boat. Now the stock classes, the stock 350 that we were running, can do 100 mile an hour.
So everybody's doing it now.
Everybody can do that, yeah. But the Unlimiteds, which Joe was running Unlimited back then, the Unlimiteds now are running helicopter jet turbines.
What?
Yes.
So unlimited meaning you can put whatever the hell you can fit in that boat to get from point A to point B.
Whatever you want. And they're putting helicopter jet turbines in.
I mean, how fast are they traveling? I mean, how much faster over 100 miles an hour can you do up these rivers? And keep in mind, for people listening, this isn't like offshore. This isn't big, flat, straightaway rivers. These are deep, steep canyons, giant rapids that would just swallow up anything. And you guys are putting helicopter engines in these boats to race it.
Yep. The fastest that I've seen, I think, was hit the other day. It was hit like about a month ago in Peace River, Canada. And I saw a picture of it, and I think it was 172 miles an hour.
That's cruising.
Which is gnarly. And that one's got a big Russian turbine in it that I have no idea about. But most of these turbines are running T-58s, which are out of a Huey helicopter.
Okay.
They're just Army surplus that they can't fly anymore. So
They buy them and convert them.
Yep.
That is interesting. So back to you guys. So you guys wanted to get in the racing.
Yep.
And you see that it's just in Idaho, and they have all these rivers that you haven't want to run, that you're probably familiar with some. You guys make the leap.
Yeah.
Did you build your boat, or did you already have it?
No. So this is the interesting part. We had this hull. Our friend Roger Brown and Daryl Bentz had raced this hull. They built it, raced it. It's the only Bentz race boat ever built, which Bentz is like the top tier company in the world for big river boats.
Okay.
So Daryl and Roger used to race it back in the day. It was built in '90, I believe. And so, why not? We'll put a motor in it. So we put a motor in it. My mom owns the motor. At that time, she was.
Because your mom races too, didn't she, or used to?
No, she still drives that boat.
No shit.
Oh, dude, she is a duck slayer.
We gotta get your mom on.
Oh, that'd be fun. So we put all this together. This boat against the boats that are running in this 2012 Worlds. It was the heaviest one out there. It was the oldest one out there. It was the only one built in Idaho or in the U.S.
Really?
Yeah, it was built in the U.S. All these other boats are coming from Canada and New Zealand.
How old are you and your brother at this point? You're in college, correct?
25 and 27.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how we got our number 51.
Got it.
I think that maths out.
Oh, I was a Marine, don't ask me.
But yeah, that's when we decided to do it, and we're in college. We're over in Eastern Oregon, and actually the university gave us a pass. Like, they let us go, and we didn't have to. We had to turn our homework in, but we didn't have to attend class. Like, they wanted us to go do this.
Really?
Yeah, we were kind of a big deal over there at that time. So we get all this together. Our first race is coming up, and it was all in April, and we start in St. Mary's, right? And we have no clue.
This is your very first race.
Very first race, right into the World Championships, which anybody can sign up for.
Yeah.
It's not a huge deal, but so we launched the boat. We've tested it. We're ready to go. All the safety equipment. We launch the boat and start heading upriver. Well, there's a big long gap that we can't be on step because of no wake zones, which is fine. And we get to pass this bridge, and I hit the gas to go to get it warmed up, and all I hear is clunk, 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 clunk. I'm like, uh-oh. So we got a stick sucked into the impeller, into the pump,
Okay.
right before the race is about to start. So we get up there and we jump out. One of our friends is there, a safety boat. He grabs a boat, holds it, and we're not on the course yet, so we were able to do that. And I run to the back, take the inspection cover off, pull the stick out, cut my hand like crazy, and put it all back together, start heading up about 2 miles to where the start line is. And we're watching our watches, and we have no idea. Grady had we didn't know we had to have watches. Grady had a analog watch.
Okay.
And so he's like, well, I guess go. And there's a process for starting.
Okay.
So I go, and we actually hit our time.
No,
which we should not have hit our time.
Pure grace of God, you guys just took off at the right time.
Yep.
So what do you mean everybody's supposed to have watches? Like they give you, like they sync your watch, and then once you hit that time, that's when you go. There's no radios or anything, no flags?
No, there's flags.
Okay.
Okay, but there's a process. Your minute is your minute. So if you have, your start time is 10 o'clock, mine's 10:01. So there's a minute interval in between.
Oh, and if you miss that, you're done?
Well, no. Well, in a world championship, yes.
Okay.
It could be. You have to, in a world championship, you have to start and finish every single leg, or you don't get considered for the overall.
Got it.
And so, but the flag system is at 10 o'clock when you go.
Yep.
Your green flag goes down, a white flag comes up. And so then it would be my minute.
Yep.
So at 50 seconds of 10:50, the white flag goes down, the green flag goes up, and then that's your 10 seconds to get on step and go. So get the boat going.
Okay.
We're not just cold starting, just dead stop.
Yeah.
There's no way of doing that. And going downriver is even crazier. I'll explain that one in a minute. But you go on your minute. And actually the Worlds this year, there was a little bit of discrepancy on that, but they got it figured out, luckily. But that's your time. And then you just start heading upriver.
So when you and your brother took off, because you're driving?
Yep. I'm the driver.
He's the co-pilot, or what's his position called?
Navigator.
Navigator. Do you remember what that felt like the first when you guys were like, "Oh, we're doing this"? Like, do you remember? What you guys look at it like? You guys have a moment?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Did you?
We definitely had moments. I'm sitting there while that's happening. I am bleeding everywhere over the boat. I was just covered in blood, and I think Grady cut himself at some point during that leg. There was that moment of, oh wow, we're actually gonna do this.
We're racing,
and that was actually one of the hardest things to watch for my mom, to watch us
get
off the trailer, and she's just like, I don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
But she did, and now she's
a race mom.
She could race too.
Yeah, she's a hardcore race mom.
Mm-hmm. And so we start doing that, and we get to the top end.
Yeah.
And we didn't know we were supposed to drive the truck around. My parents didn't know we were supposed to drive the truck to the other end. And then pull us out of the water.
Yo, you guys think you're coming back?
Yeah, we just parked on the bank after the start, or after the finish line. We parked on the bank. There was a couple other boats just parked.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. Didn't realize that everybody else pulls their boats out.
And your parents are still waiting down below?
They're still down below.
And I know you probably couldn't do self-service even if you had cells at that point.
Yeah, no cell service. The safety boats luckily have ham radios.
Yeah.
Every few miles or every few hundred yards is a safety boat.
Okay.
So they would communicate.
Yeah.
And which has been a lifesaver for a lot of people.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I thank the ham radios and the safety boat guys, for what they do.
Oh, for sure.
And the EMTs. I mean, we have EMTs on every single one of those. But get to the top, and this is where it gets interesting, because we've just done one start in our entire career, and it was upriver, luckily.
Okay.
Well, we get we get ready to go, get all the times when we start. We've already had boats break down. Other boats have already broken down,
On the first race?
First leg.
So this is a leg,
a leg is point A to point B, is one leg.
and then you pull your boat, and then you go to the next start, or the next leg?
Yep, the next leg, which is just going down from point B to point A.
Okay.
So that'd be leg 2.
So now you're racing back down.
We're racing back down.
Okay.
So this is where the start comes into play.
Okay.
We have no idea what we're doing here. So we're thinking, okay, how do I start? Do we like wait and then roll in just real slow? Because there's no reverse on these boats. There's no way to just hold yourself.
Yeah.
So we're going, and we start watching, and we're seeing people, they're facing upriver, but they want to go downriver. So we didn't quite understand that. And so we get in the box, and what we found out was you face upriver, and you watch your stopwatch, or your watch, for your minute, or your 10-second flag, and then Grady would go, okay, go, 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 go. And you would spin around, face the flag, and then take off. Okay. So you're not even watching the flag. You have no idea.
Yeah, because your back's turned to it.
Yep. And that was one of the most interesting parts, is going downriver and starting.
So you're learning all this on the fly. Mm-hmm. What did you guys end up finishing on this race?
We were 4th overall in the world in 2012.
It was your first year doing it.
First year doing it.
Just good old Idaho boys after it.
Yep. And that was one of the neat things is one of our friends, he took first.
Okay.
And he actually started realizing what was going on and started teaching us throughout the race. And we pre-run with him, and because it came down to 5 boats on the Salmon the last day. Okay. There was 5 boats left that were in the overall contender. One was a turbine. One was a CX boat, which is a CT 525, just a 6.2 engine. And then
you were talking a completely foreign language to me, bud.
Yeah. Which it's just like what you'd see in a Chevy truck.
Okay.
Yeah. But for racing.
Yeah.
And then there was 3 FX boats, which is our class.
Okay.
Stock 350, the old tried and true, nothing wrong. Just probably one of the best motors ever built.
Okay.
And so we're running, and the turbine at the first start, a fuse blew, and so it shut everything down. So he's out of the overall, and now there's 4 of us left.
So you're like, they're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance, and that was one of the coolest experiences of my life, was being able to cross the finish line with my brother.
And just starting it for the first time.
Yeah.
How many days is this? Is this over like a summer, or is this like a weekend?
It's a week.
You're racing every day for a week, or?
We had 1 day off, so we raced 6 days. Yep.
How many boats started in this?
I think there was like 18 that started.
How many finished? You remember?
4.
Oh, so when you say it came down the last 4, it was just the 4 of you.
Yeah, but for the overall.
Yeah.
But like there was boats that would go and fix them and then come back. But they could do class. They could win their class.
Yeah.
Or race for the class, but they couldn't do any overall.
That's a pretty badass thing, though, to be able to just decide like, hey, we want to race, and you get time off of school. You join what was this association, or what was the race called? I mean, besides Worlds, I mean.
Yeah, the World Jet Boat Race.
So
marathon race, yeah.
Yeah. So you leave college, they give you time off to come to the World Jet Boat Racing here in Idaho. You guys from in your backyard, and you and your brother end up finishing 4th.
Yep.
That's quite the accomplishment. I mean, and it's not like this is like a street race. I mean, I've seen videos. I think you've shown me some of the guys. I mean, these boats hit just the right rock or rapid. I mean, it's like launching them onto the shore, or they're burying these boats in the water. And I mean, guys are bailing and boats are sinking. I mean, so it's a pretty nerve-wracking thing. And how many rivers did you hit in this week?
4.
4 different rivers.
4 different rivers.
Are you racing every one of them up and down?
Yep.
So you're hitting them twice.
Oh no, there's like 8. There was 8 legs on the Salmon. There was like 4 or 5 legs. I mean, we'd go up and down numerous times. The Clearwater we only did up and down because it was it's like 40 miles.
Oh, okay.
So it's just leg after leg after leg after leg after leg.
No shit.
Yep.
And your parents are learning at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're learning. They're probably the roughest one for my family is the snake.
Okay.
Out of Lewiston.
Why is that?
Well, you start at Hell's Gate Marina, and then you go up to Bear Bar, which is, I think it's like 28-something miles, and you just park on the beach. They can't come drive around.
Okay.
So they just park on the beach, or we would just park and just hang out. And so everybody at the ramp doesn't really know what's going on.
Oh, you guys are kind of cut off to the world because you're down below?
Yeah.
Like down in the water?
Yeah. Yeah, but nobody has, there's no road up there.
Yeah.
So the ham radios, that's where they come into handy and say, yep, they finished. They're good. But I actually hit a rock at 90 mile an hour on the snake.
How does that feel?
It hurts.
Because I feel like those seats aren't, now in like Josh's boat, these big twins, and I mean, they're on these giant air ride suspension seats. I feel like in the race boat, you're just bolted to the hull and you're feeling everything.
You feel everything. When we did Worlds, the trainer at the college had to put us back together.
Really?
Our bodies were shot.
I could imagine.
Yeah. But yeah, they're just bolted straight up, and the ones we had back in 12. Those were old, all aluminum seats. We tried to put as much padding in them as
A
possible.
little rubber in the bottom. You got a yoga mat like glued to the back of the thing.
Pretty much. And it hurt. You
Yeah.
know, I have back problems.
How violent was that? Was it a solid hit or did you scrape?
Oh, no, I center punched it.
Really?
Yeah, we came around the corner, and I'm looking at it. I'm looking, and I'm talking to Grady on the intercom. And I'm like, where is it? He's like, I don't know. Oh, there it is. And just
Boom.
pow. And we took a piece of half-inch aluminum right next to the pump. We should have took the pump out, but it was right next to it. And we turned it into a banana. Because when we cut it out, it looked like a banana.
Really?
Yeah.
Just molded it that much, huh?
Yeah, it just destroyed it. And the boat kind of hasn't ran the same since, but it works.
Yeah.
It works good. It's a good hull, you know, because we were running a tunnel at that point.
Okay.
And which our first boat was a V bottom, which is just like a normal boat.
Yeah.
And
That you were racing in, or
well, yeah, the bottom, the hull was just looked like a normal boat.
Okay.
It was definitely low profile on that, but the tunnel has places where air can get in.
Yeah.
So it gives you lift, and that's what we hit was our tunnel hull, our Eagle.
Okay.
And that's the one you got to ride in was the Eagle.
Yep.
And that was fun too when we got to take you out on that.
Yeah, that thing was wild.
That was cool. The wings on the front.
Mm-hmm.
We did have wings on that at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody looks at the wings and always goes, "Well, those force you down." No, they pick you up.
So that's why they're on there. So you're the opposite of like a race car. You're wanting the lift on everything instead of the force down.
Yeah. More boat you get out of the water, the faster you're gonna go. I mean,
Interesting.
we're only 3 inches in the back of the boat.
That's all that's touching the water.
Back corners are just 3 inches. Yeah.
So you're driving this whole entire boat and you're racing on 3 inches of boat.
On the back corners, yeah. The bottom, the actual bottom where the pump is, that's a little deeper. But we've modified the bottom of the boat to ride on that. But yeah, the back corners, it's about 3 inches.
No kidding.
And I know ones that they go so fast that they actually create a bubble, and they ride on the bubble.
What do you mean? Explain this.
Well, like they're sucking all the water.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're riding so high that you can actually see this bubble or dome,
like a
of
cavity?
water, of water that's just getting sucked into it.
And it rides on top of that.
It rides on top of that. They're going that fast.
Really?
Yeah. I've seen some crazy stuff.
Speaking of crazy stuff, what's the craziest situation you've gotten into on the river? What's your oh shit moment? I'm sure you got a freaking handful of them.
St. Mary's one year. It was actually in the 2016 Worlds. I think it was 16. Cross the finish line, engine shuts off. When these shut off, there's no steering. You're at the mercy of whichever way you're going.
Really?
And we actually put it into the bank, stuffed it at about probably 70.
What?
And we hit a pylon, like a pylon, which is just a big tree kind of dug into the water or into the riverbank. We hit that, and luckily that kind of jolted us off. Either that or we were center punched it and probably tore the boat in half.
No shit.
Yeah, that one was rough. I lost steering in that same race, and while we were on a corner, and I hit the bank, and Grady wasn't navigating with me; he was working, but his best friend was. And I hit the bank, and he was actually in the water. The boat turned on its side. He was in the water, and it corrected and came back down.
Really?
That one still gets me because it was his life that I in the same day I almost killed him twice.
I mean, it's part of the sport, I guess, right?
It is. We have had deaths.
Yeah. Is it mainly drownings, or is it guys flipping and landing on the shore? I mean, because you're landing in boulder fields. I don't feel like there's nowhere nice to land on any of these rivers unless it's like the rare sandbank that you pass.
A lot of mechanical stuff has happened that has caused boats to go up the bank.
Yeah.
You know, I won't go into specifics on it because actually a couple of them were good friends of mine. But
like throttle sticks and stuff like that, and just kind of sends them up.
Throttle sticks, steering brakes.
So are most of the deaths due to hitting the banks, or are they drownings?
They're hitting the banks.
Really?
Yeah, hitting rocks and then flipping over. They haven't been. Yeah, one of them was a log hanging over.
Really?
Yeah, they hit it. They went up the wrong channel. But yeah, it's been impact.
No kidding. I would not have guessed that. I feel like obviously being in the water and dealing with rapids, that your number one threat is drowning. But I mean, these guys are just. But at the same time, I mean, God, you hit one rock and it deflects you. I mean, you don't have. I mean, you might have feet on each side of you to make a correction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the places were inches away from rocks, and just going right next to them
at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. Spun out in time zone one time.
What is that?
Time zone is the big rapid on the Salmon.
Okay.
That they run. It's right there at the time zone bridge in Riggins.
Oh, okay.
There's the one right underneath. We've had boats that have gone through the rapid and hit the wave wrong or too fast, and it's launched them, and they were sitting on two boulders that were like 10 feet up off the water.
No
They were
kidding.
just sitting on it. That was crazy. When we drove by, we're like, what happened to him? And they're like, oh, he's up here. He's like right here. And most of the time, I'm not paying attention to anything on the bank other than my markers. You know, I've spots up throughout the river that I'll line the boat up with, because reading water is really hard at that fast.
I could imagine, yeah.
But we were able to do it, but we do have lines that we pick. And so Grady looks over, and when we're going through the rapid, and he sees it, and he's like, oh, wow, he's way up there.
And it just launched him out, and he landed on the top of the boulders. How do they get you guys out of there? What is the process of rescuing these boats out of canyons when they're just completely demolished?
Well, those ones, they just wait till the race ends and pull you off. We've even had ones get pulled off improperly and sunk them.
Really?
Yeah, you don't pull a boat out from the back. You don't hook up to the back of it and pull it out, because then it'll sink it. It'll just swamp it, which swamping is just all this water getting inside the hull.
Yeah.
And just the weight of it sinks it. But the process is, it just depends on how bad it is. You know, I've been called to get boats out in the past, just with my business and friends. And so I'll go down with them, or I'll go in and get a boat. And we had one, I think it was like 2017, and they called me one of the guide companies called me to go get this engine running. Well, this boat was the engine had been underwater for a week, just sitting on the bank, and it was up out of the water, other than the engine was at the back end. It had a hole in the bow, and where it was located, because it was actually in the tongue of granite, like right off to the bank of it, or off to the side on the bank.
Okay.
But for it to be there is really gnarly. There's no way to pull it off. So what we had to do was pull the boat up on the bank a little bit further to get the engine out of the water. And then I had to take the exhaust off, get all the water out of the engine, get all the oil out of the engine, because the oil's covered, has water in it. And so we go do that, and then the starter wouldn't work. I had to rebuild the carburetor because it had water in it.
And you're doing all this. I mean, it's not like you could just run to the AutoZone and grab some shit. Like you're in these canyons.
We are in the middle of nowhere.
Are you guys sleeping out there, or
No, luckily we would
come back every night?
Yeah, we'd go back every night, but it took 3 days to get this thing out.
Are you just using come-alongs and pulling this thing out and winching it out at like inch at a time?
Yep.
And then you got to spin this boat around.
No, we didn't end up spinning it around. No, so we just pulled it up, and I got the engine. We got it back in the water once we got everything plugged off, and got it back in the water, so it's just sitting there normally. And I was able to, we got it fired, and the owner, backed it out and actually powered out of the tongue of granite, which is insane for a boat that's been underwater for
A week.
And we got it up, and we drove it out.
Really?
We didn't actually have to tow it out.
How do you tow a boat through rapids?
Very carefully.
Are you hauling ass, or are you just like, I mean, how do you control that? That's the one that's dead in the water. I mean, you're just getting it out of there. You got to.
As long as you have power, you're good. You don't have a long rope. You don't have somebody 150 feet back like or wakeboarding. It's more like you'd probably tow them 20, 30 feet off the back, and where you go, they go.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you just got to deal with it and be very careful.
And you guys have dealt with a lot of wrecks?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Or guys that have broken down. My dad's towed them out. I've towed people out. I do a lot with the sheriffs around here.
Yeah.
And working with them with training and how to do things like that. I actually almost got a call the other day for a guy that was down at Swamp Falls.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, Justin was the one that pulled him out.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So he was down there. I guess it was his buddy, but he's the one that pulled him out. The sheriff came out and he told me about it, and I was like, oh, that must have been the one Justin pulled out. So, but yeah, it's hard to. It's dangerous.
Very
it's
much
still
so.
dangerous. You know, my dad lost a piston when he towed a guy out one time. He just
Blew a piston?
dead cylinder, and we had to have an engine rebuilt.
All for towing a guy out.
Just for towing a guy out.
That's got to be kind of frustrating.
It is. And everything is filmed. You film everything.
Yeah.
Because if something insurance-wise happens, insurance company needs to know what happened.
Oh, in case the boat like actually sinks and ends up on the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen big Jolly Green Giants, those big helicopters. Mm-hmm. I've seen them pull boats out of the Hell's Canyon.
I was going to ask that a little bit ago. Like when it comes to recovering, I mean, are they just? I mean, what does that cost to frickin' get a boat flown out of Hell's Canyon? You know, I mean,
I don't know. The picture that I saw, because I don't think I was alive when that happened, when they did that, but I've seen the picture of it, and it probably cost a lot of money back then. So I couldn't imagine.
Sure. Not worth it at that point. You just take the environmental fines.
Yeah.
Are there big hefty fines that come, like if you sink a boat with the oils and all that, or are they just like, yeah, it's part of the sport? I mean,
It's kind of part of it, but you have to make an attempt. There's rules with that. You have to make an attempt to get it out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you follow Dave Sparks a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They got they sunk a boat, didn't they?
Well,
out at Lake Powell or something, or recovered one.
That was the Pavati.
Yep.
But then they just did one on the Snake not too long ago. Well, Aaron and I, my worker, we went down and had rebuilt his pumps in his big recovery boat, his big SWAC boat.
Yeah.
And we had just got done rebuilding those, and then they got the call to go do that, to go pull that boat out. And but if I need a boat flown out, I'm calling Dave.
Yeah,
I'm calling Dave.
I'm sure he's got the tools for it.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things that recovering boats is a risky thing, and it's a lot of fun. It's really rewarding. That's for sure.
I'm sure it's pretty rewarding, but it's got to be pretty nerve-wracking too.
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting all of your gear and life savings and everything you've worked for to come help some guy that's, I mean, obviously they're in a shitty position and need all the help they can get, but God, you're putting everything. It's not like you're just going and recovering something. Like, I don't know if to draw the picture of what you're doing, I mean, you're putting your life on the line just being on the river in the first place with how treacherous these things could be, and now you got to get a boat either winched up on the land, fixed, spun around if you can. How the hell do you spin a boat around on the boulders? I mean, you're getting logs and trying to like. What is the technique for that? I mean, I feel like that's one of those generational like tricks and little things that, like, if you were going to try to do yourself and didn't have a clue, you would be like a month into it. Some old timer like, oh, put this log here and kick this, and
a lot of times that is it. You know, when we hit that rock with the race boat, we just went over. We had 4 guys pick up the back of the boat, and we put a log underneath it, and sealed it back up and took off again. But when it comes to like turning a boat like that, use the river. The way I pull somebody off, I'll hook to the front of their boat, either hook to the front of mine or hook to the back of mine.
Yeah.
And then get out in the current. Most of the time, these boats are in current.
Yep.
And in a rapid that are stuck, they're sitting on a boulder, and you just use the force of the water.
Yeah.
That gives you leverage.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, I learned that from some guides probably 20 years ago.
I mean, people don't realize how strong water is. I mean, just ankle deep water moving at the right speed. I mean, you're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see on these riverbanks, you see those big holes. The little pebble or a little rock got in there and started spinning, and that's what creates those big, huge there's a name for them, but they just like holes in these big boulders, and that's the interesting part of what water can do. I mean, all these canyons, they've all been created that from water.
Thousands of years of water just ripping through there. Then does it change?
It can. Yeah, every day can change in Hell's Canyon.
Oh, yeah, huh? With water flow. But I mean, do rapids change? I mean, obviously with the flow of the water, but there's so much force. I mean, you go up in the springtime and you stand next to some of these things and you're just like, I mean, you can feel it.
Yeah.
And the power. I mean, are they moving and bringing big boulders down, or the majority of those big ones, that's where they lay?
The majority of the big ones, that's where they lay.
Okay.
There are rapids that have been created, in my lifetime. And what'll happen is a mudslide will come down or something.
Oh, no kidding, huh?
So those little boulders will get in there. But then, like, the next year, you get like an ice jam behind it.
Yeah.
And it'll just start pushing them and pushing them and pushing them and change rapids.
Got
so
it.
They can change from, year to year.
Pockets, tongues, things like that can change.
Yeah. And there's wrong ways to run rapids, but as long as you get through it, it doesn't matter.
A win's a win.
A win's a win.
A win's a win in the rapid world. If you make it to the other side, or you don't care how you got there, you made it.
Yep, you made it, in my opinion.
That's a pretty... I mean, you guys are literally living life on the edge on these things. Like, I mean, I feel like you're kind of downplaying how fucking crazy this shit is. Because, I mean, how long did you guys race for?
11 years.
11 years.
But that doesn't mean we still have them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it just, if I get a wild hair, I'll go run it. I'll go race. But yeah, we raced for like 11 years.
Really?
Yep.
How'd you guys do overall? I mean...
We won a lot of trophies. Yeah? We won a lot of trophies. That first year, probably for about 6 years, we were winning a lot. And
so you guys came out swinging and made a name for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big time.
Did it help you? Did it help Dad's business at all? I mean, when he's got 2 boys out there that are just crushing these rivers.
Yeah, it did. It helped the business, but it also helped other things that I'm involved with.
Like what?
Politics, the recreation river politics.
Okay.
That helped kind of push me into that. just my name being out there. People knew who I was. They still do, but there's always issues going on.
What are the issues? I mean, you hear things, you see things on the news. Now the big thing, I guess, lately is water flow, and which blows my mind, bro. Like, I feel like it's 100% turning into like a little California here now that they're cutting farmers' water supplies and all this stuff. But here I am, I walk my dog every night, and there's just thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons just flowing into the drainage, and it's like. And that's a whole other rabbit hole. I feel like everybody should be able to grow gardens and shit in their front yards or backyards as long as it looks good, maintained. Like, why are we watering grass?
Yeah.
That's my biggest. And then here you hear these farmers that are getting, now their water rights are being either pulled or they're not having as much given to them. And it's like, why? So we can grow fucking grass in the school parking lot, like, that nobody cares about?
Right.
So politics.
So...
What do politics have to do with the rivers here in Idaho?
So there's always somebody that wants the river to themselves.
Okay.
There's always somebody. And motorized has always been...
everyone's anti-motorized?
A lot of people are anti-motorized.
Okay, so I see where you're going with this. So you're talking rafters, kayakers, now the thousands and thousands of paddleboarders that think that they're rafters.
Yeah, and not all of them are like that.
For sure.
Don't get me wrong. But there are organizations out there that want
Really?
to lock these places up and not allow anybody.
Interesting.
Just what they like to do. And I have no problem with people wanting to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And Hell's
Why you come here?
Hell's Canyon, you can float down completely naked as long as you sleep on the Oregon side.
Really?
Yeah, that's a lot. You can do that in Oregon. And hey, have at it. I have no problem with it. Whatever.
Have you ever seen anybody doing this?
Oh yeah.
And they're never a hot chick. It's always just some giant big. Really? Okay. I guess so. It's like when you go to when you're a young kid, you're like, I knew this beach, and then you go and it's like all these.
Yeah, old people. Yeah, no, it was actually. No, I've seen.
Okay.
Seen a few.
Right.
But we've gotten to a point where one of the organizations that I'm the chairman of.
Okay.
Is the Hell's Canyon Recreation Collaborative, and it was to fight a fee. The Forest Service wanted to put a fee on rafters and boaters, or rafters and jet boaters to use the river, which there's already one on the Salmon, which I don't agree with, but it happens.
What's wrong with the fee?
Where it's being spent. Where's the money going to be spent?
Okay, yeah,
So
I can see that for sure.
There's no control.
So these people are just collecting fees, and there's no accountability for what the fees are doing. So they're not putting anything back into the rivers. They're just putting it in their pockets, is what people are having. I'm not accusing these, but if you don't know where the money's going, it's going in someone's pocket.
Yeah,
follow the money, right?
It could go to a GS9 Forest Service employee as their salary. It can go to that instead of
That's not a bad thing, or is it?
It needs to go boots on the ground, actual on the ground and facilities.
Oh, so you're talking some staff that's in an office. That's what's paying him.
Yeah.
But if would you be cool if it was going to men and women that are out there and working every day?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the nice things that what the collaborative does is we find money. We go out, we write grants to get all this money we made it so the fee didn't happen.
How much was the fee going to be?
They couldn't give us an exact number, but it was $5 to $10 per person per day.
Oh, okay, that adds up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So you have 10 people on your boat.
This is for rafters too?
Yeah.
Oh, so if you just wanted to go as a family, I mean, you hit a couple of people, I mean, you're paying $100 a day.
Oh yeah.
Just to float the river.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the greatest part about this state is that you can just do whatever you want for free. The majority of stuff with what our public lands, BLM, rafting. I mean, you can just pull over and go swimming somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so I can see why people are in uprise, especially.
Yeah, and it was huge. I mean, there was almost fistfights in Lewiston at the meeting up there.
Really?
Oh yeah.
It got that heated, huh?
Oh yeah, it gets bad. People are passionate. People are passionate of what they do, what they want to do, and we got that all curbed. They put a hiatus on even trying to do a fee in there because we've found about $1 million worth of grants and labor and volunteerism and.
Really?
Oh yeah.
And so that is the state taking that. Are you receiving the grant money and then giving it to the state so they kind of stay off your back, or?
So the feds, so federal, so Forest Service, there's different RAC resource advisory councils, and one of them is a money one. So they give out grants.
Okay.
And they have a pool of money that they get every year, and you apply for it. And so, say you want a bridge on a hiking trail, you can go get that money. Yeah, but it's very hard to get. We've tried to, how do I put this? You go get the money, the Forest Service, if your grant's approved, the Forest Service gets the money, and then they pay us
to do the work
out of that. Yeah, and we find the volunteers. My mom and dad go in there and drive people up and down the river, hikers, so they can clear trail.
Really?
Yeah, my dad will just sit there and fish.
That doesn't sound like a horrible day.
But and that's the interesting part is when there's always been contention. Well, there isn't any. We're all at the same table. Hells Canyon Recreation Collaborative has hikers, jet boaters, rafters, guides,
Everything.
backcountry airmen, everything. And everybody's allowed at the table. And that's been the neat part about everything we've done is the feds want people to fight. The different environmental groups want people to fight because then that causes controversy, which will shut people out.
Oh, and you guys are bringing everybody together.
And we bring everybody together.
So instead of you guys starting this and just being like, okay, this is to protect the jet boat rights, instead of that path, you're going, hey, you use this river, you use the river, you use the banks, you fish, you hike, you camp. Let's all fight this together. And so that's been the way to go.
Yeah, actually, a lot of different forests around the entire country have learned what we've done and want to do the same thing. Because the biggest issue is with volunteering is you have to have an agreement with the Forest Service.
For sure.
Which we, as a collaborative, have written all of our agreements. We have one every single year. I have to sign it every year. Well, the different organizations that are a part of us, if they want to go clear trail, they do it underneath our umbrella.
Okay.
So they don't have to worry about the paperwork. We just take care of it. So we're streamlining it.
Okay. What do the feds feel about this?
They love it.
Okay.
They are completely 100% on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's different. It's something different.
Okay.
And everything's moving to collaboratives now, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
Some of them don't get anything done, but a lot do. A lot of the motorized ones get a lot done.
Why is that?
A lot of money. Let's put it that way. And these are nothing's cheap anymore. When you got, side-by-sides.
Yeah.
What are they running now? Like 30,000?
Bro, a Can-Am's cost you as much as a friggin' Tundra almost these days.
Right? These jet boats,
Not cheap.
they're not cheap. Even rafting equipment's not cheap.
I know. I think it was this week. We went to Stanley the other day, and I looked at the wife. I'm like, wow, we gotta find another. I want to find a new hobby. Like something for the family. I was like, I would love to get in the rafting and do that. But I was like looking into it. You're like, good God. So I feel like we'll wait till winter, and then everybody wants to sell their shit.
Idaho Whitewater Association's a raft group.
Yeah.
And they always have a yard sale where people will bring their stuff in. And it's used,
okay, yeah.
but it's still good.
See, I'm not one of those people. I do not need the new shiny shit.
Exactly.
I knowing me and who I am, like I'll destroy everything. So like I've always learned, I'll get in with the used shit, then learn and master it, and then I'll evolve in the nicer gear.
I'll find out for you when that.
Yeah, that'd be great because I
ends.
think, dude, these rivers are incredible here, man. Like they're so awesome. They're so big and intimidating, and it's fun. And the fishing and camping and just being able to like find an area to cliff jump off of. It's like that's I mean, that's what I want to get the family into and just start learning that. Although, you know, our oldest, she's about out of the house here in a couple of years. Well, hopefully not. She can stay forever. You can stay forever. And so, you know, we always talk about like she's not going anywhere. But you know what? I think it'd be cool. And just, but then you have the catamaran ones versus the single. I guess there's a whole entire rift between the rafting community, and it's hilarious when you start getting in the new hobbies or communities of like what you realize, like how it's so divided. Everything is so divided.
Everything's divided.
It's hilarious. Oh, you're gonna use that? Like, it's like, God, who gives a shit? Like,
well, it's just like going back to the beginning where I was like left hand stick, right hand stick.
okay, yeah. Who cares?
Who cares?
But there's a huge division over that, I'm sure.
Massive. Internet just goes crazy over it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, a brand new boat will come out, and well, the stick's in the wrong hand. It's like,
For who?
I'm kind of looking at the boat. I think the boat's
Right.
cool. You know, these, you know, $200,000-$300,000 boats that are coming out,
Yeah.
and that's like mid-level. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, that's crazy right now.
Everything's crazy. But I
but-
guess it's good for you for business, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How many boats? Actually, I want to stay on the politics thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you guys have been fighting for years. Ever since I've known you, I feel like you guys have always talked about something. Like, what's new? What's next on the water now that things are changing and there's so many people coming to here and using these rivers? I mean, is it not looking good for jet boats? Because I feel like the first thing to ever go is motorized anything.
Yes.
So is that something now that you guys are looking at, or is that hasn't started to even become? Because I mean, you drive by some of these areas now, and it's like, bro. I mean, we're new to Idaho. I mean, we're what 8-9 years in, and it's like I remember you go up any of these rivers and just pull off anywhere, and you'd have the whole thing to yourself that day. Now, I mean, there's 20 cars, and every pull out, they all have little mini trailers behind them. They all have their paddle boards. I mean, so it's like, is that affecting the jet boat community, or do you guys have to just learn to work together?
Anybody that comes in, we got to learn to work together. That's an Idaho thing. Work together.
For sure.
But we don't have that issue right now, and I've a lot of stuff that I've been doing.
Yeah.
And the Western Whitewater Association, which is a jet boat organization that I belong to, they have fought to keep, shared use on these rivers and the lakes and everywhere. You know, there's a few rivers that jet boats aren't allowed.
Really?
Yeah, there's one of them that I'm looking into right now.
Is that kind of what you do? Is look and see why?
Yeah.
And then try to get it open back up for them?
I'm this one I'm going to try.
Yeah. Why? What intrigues you about it to want to open it back up to take on a fight? What makes you want to take on the fight for this?
Well, the nice thing about it is the government just passed a new law about that, about being able to go in, and if you see something that should be opened, we'll put it in, and we'll find out if they'll review it and see if they can reopen it to motorized.
Well, do you know the reason why it's closed in the first place, motorized? Is it like fish and hatcheries, or is it?
This one was the head of that BLM just decided to sign a piece of paper and say,
Oh, so they can't justify why?
there's no justification why. On this one, from what I've been told from the old timers.
Huh.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about knowing all of these guys that I've grown up with.
Yeah.
They've
Building the name in the racing community.
racing community,
Or just
my
the
dad's
rapid-
friends,
Yeah.
and the I don't call them old timers, but they're
old timers.
They're old timers.
They're old timers.
And they fought all this back before when I was a kid.
Oh, so this is something that's been going on forever.
It's been going on for a really long time. My parents helped. Were some of the people that helped keep jet boats in Hell's Canyon, because there was a community that wanted to remove them. They actually wanted to make Hell's Canyon a national park. And
I can see that.
And then have the person that really wanted this wanted to have the official guide rights and be the only person to be on that river.
Yeah.
And which they do in Grand Canyon. He wanted to turn it into Grand Canyon,
Yeah.
and
Not gonna happen
that
here.
didn't happen.
No way.
No, we wouldn't. That was a big fight. We lost a few things back then, but I was around. Luckily we have some pretty good people behind us when we go for a fight. There's big lobbyists that I work with
Okay.
And she's just an old friend. She remembers me when I was, running around these meetings.
I remember you when you were in diapers.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And she's taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And basically anything I need, I can call her.
That's good to know that.
And she'll push me in the right direction. And that's been fun, reconnecting with her.
What battles are you guys facing now? As far as not just for the jet boat community, but just the waterways, is there anything that's come up on any ballots or on the table that you guys are kind of worried about, or that just doesn't make sense that you guys are helping with?
Not right currently.
Yeah.
But there's always something on the horizon. We'll have travel plans come up, which travel plan on whether we're on the river or not.
What do you mean by that?
They review whether we can have motorized on a river.
Mm-hmm.
And when a travel plan comes up, somebody's going to lose something.
What is a travel plan?
Travel plan is how recreation is managed in that area.
Okay. Is this like the people that are decided the travel plan, like, hey, we're closing the river to rafters from October to whenever? Is that what that would refer to?
Yeah, that could be.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Or just no jet boats anymore.
Okay.
Or 3 days. It's closed to motorized, and those 3 days is strictly, rafting.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we have in Hell's Canyon every 2 weeks. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is non-motorized, and it's kind of a tough deal, but that's what it ended up happening to be. If we didn't take that, it would have been, 7 days or gone.
When did that go into effect? How long has that been a thing?
I think that was signed in the 90s,
Okay.
or early 90s.
And there's no going back once they're signed? I mean, is that it? Or is it like, do we want to really open this can of worms again?
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like,
Take what you can get?
Yeah, the Hell's Canyon travel plan, I've been told numerous times they don't want anything to do with, because it was a war. That was a war. People lost their jobs and had to move out of state because they were getting threats.
Really?
Yeah, it was bad.
Over these rivers, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Of just being able to take a jet boat up and down them?
Yep, people are passionate.
Oh,
People are
yeah.
passionate at what they do, I watched you with your garden, man. You're passionate about the garden. I love it. I love that.
It's consumed my life. Kids are out there just fucking everything up all day.
But yeah, it's the same way with hunting.
Yeah.
People are passionate about the places they hunt at.
Yep.
And they're getting locked out. Shoot, places we hunted when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go in that area? What?
Yep.
Yeah, somebody came in and decided to, buy that land.
Yeah.
And it's...
Oh, the brothers?
Yeah. Oh, actually, they're pretty nice.
Are they? You guys know them?
Well, I do stuff with their... I go to a lot of political events.
Yeah.
With my friend, and I've gotten to know a lot of these guys.
Yep.
And I do stuff with the Wilkes Brothers lobbyist. I'm friends with him.
Here's the thing that I've heard about these guys.
Mm-hmm.
The state offered, or whoever the logging company, whoever owned that place first, offered it to the state very cheap, and the state turned it down. Mm-hmm. These guys come in with a lot of money and buy it. No offense to all the Idahoans and you, but like, fuck y'all. Like, if I'm gonna spend umpteen millions on this chunk of land, I'm gonna do whatever I want. The only problem I've heard, and I've stayed away, that's not anywhere where I hunt or anything. Only thing I've heard that is, I think, is pretty bullshit is them closing down easements and that type of stuff. But I don't know the ins and outs because it's never affected me.
Yeah.
But like that, I'd be like, okay, don't come in, don't close gates, that kind of stuff. You buy a nice chunk of property that you've earned over your lifetime of just crushing it and making hundreds of millions. That's your right. Mm-hmm. Dude, you could put security on it. You could kick everybody off of it. We had the opportunity. The state had the opportunity to purchase this, and they didn't. Like, why are we bitching about it?
Yeah, well,
is how I look at it, at least.
The best example best way it was explained to me is I don't want somebody coming to shit on my lawn. It's their property.
Yeah,
they can do it. But there's been a lot of agreements that have been signed between the brothers and the recreational community with trails and stuff like that. There's been a lot signed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they want to do a lot of work to actually improve things. They do. And, people might not like me saying that, but they are actually pretty good guys.
I mean, coming from like a 5th generation Idahoan, I mean, the fact that you look at it like that, it should show like if you do the ins and outs of it. But like even though I'm not, I'm definitely a transplant. I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's their right. Like, it's their property. I wouldn't want people, especially hunters, dude. Like, I would be that guy that owned that property, and if anybody asked me to hunt, no. Like, no, I'm not letting anybody touch my property. Especially, no way. Especially hunters, man. No way. And honestly, I wouldn't let anybody, just because, like, you go up to the mountains now, you see these campsites, dude, they're trashed. Oh. People are leaving bags of trash every spring. I mean, dude, I bring probably legit, no joke, probably a truck bed to 2 truck beds of just trash off the mountain just for spring bear hunting, just picking up crap in campsites. And you drive by a campsite and it's there for 2 weeks and you finally check it out and the people they'll just leave a whole the tent and everything. You're like, what the
yeah, it's
and it's like, so I get it. I would protect anything I had too, because people, dude, we suck. Like, people suck, man, and we trash everything, and we ruin everything. And it's so funny to me is because, as a hunter or an outdoorsman, we always get the bad rep. Like, oh, you guys just want... Granted, most hunters, like, we pick up after... We're trying to make it better than we were. Like, if I'm walking with my kids and they see... We just pick it up. It's a natural thing. Like, there's a water bottle on the trail. Pick it up. But meanwhile, you pass 3 hikers coming in, and they've stepped over the trash that we just picked up coming out as a hunter that they're hating on us, but you just stepped over this trash, like, or it's your trash. So it's funny to me to see, like, the difference in people and how we leave things. Like, there was a guy a couple years ago that he was some TikTok. I should have saved it. I looked him up at the moment, and it's during COVID and living out of his van, probably just he had his social handles all over his van and all that crap. But like, dude, after he left, I think I might have talked about it on here. Dude, I went up and I just had a feeling for how long he was there. There's going to be shit everywhere. And I walk up in there. There was so much trash in this campsite, and he had shit everywhere. Like, there's just piles of toilet paper, little patches of toilet. So it wasn't like he even had a designated toilet where he was shitting in the woods. Fine, cool. You have your spot. But like, bury it or throw a log over it, whatever. It was just like landmines all around his campsite. And here this guy, and when I looked him up, he was like vegan and save the planet and save the whales. And then I leave, and he leaves, and there's just, dude, I filled one of those big black industrial trash bags, I didn't pick up any of his toilet paper, but like just the trash that he had left behind after a week and a half, 2 weeks of being there. And I could not find, oh, dude, I was going to put him on blast so bad. That's one of those, like, God, he's so... should have had him, but these are the people that are sitting here fighting against our rights, our beliefs, everything that we are. Granted, yeah, we're on the mountain trying to kill something to provide for our family, right? I agree. Like, I agree with a lot of these people and how animals are raised, all that stuff. But at the same time, they have no respect.
No.
They just believe what they've been told, what their fad is, like with I want to be vegan, I want to save the planet, all this crap, and they fall into it, and then they don't truly believe in what they're preaching, I believe, because I've watched them, and you see these granola, crunchy hikers, and they trash everything. Yep. And stacking their motherfucking rocks, dude. If I see another pile of rocks stacked somewhere.
Oh, actually, it's against the law to do that.
It
is against the law to stack rocks.
Bro, that's one of those things, even before it was a thing. I'm talking for years. I'd always be like, oh, leave no footprint. But here you are building these archways and these big stacks of rocks. We were in Grand Canyon, I think, and I'm in the parking lot, just kicking over, and people are staring at me. I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like,
you can't stack them because you leave. It's called leave no trace.
Yes,
that's what it is, yep. And it's pack it in, pack it out.
Yep.
We as the motorized community have been trying to be better. Mm-hmm. I know we have, and a lot of times these hikers or the rafting community, things like that, they have to put their toilets. We also carry toilets,
yeah.
But they could flip over and then they could dump, and that's rough. But 5 days, with a jet boat, we go to a campsite and we stay there and run up and down the river.
Yeah,
they're a new site every single day, and I get it, but one of the things that we've been trying to do is with the volunteerism is be able to go in and use the jet boats to pack all that stuff out. So they're not. You know, if I had a rafting community or group come up to me and say, "Hey, we got some trash. We see you're heading out. Would you mind taking it?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
Why not?
Not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's easy enough. We're taking our trash out anyways. I get it, but I know exactly what you're saying. We've come up on beaches that are just covered in shit, and it just drives you nuts. It becomes a health hazard.
But when you're saying shit, like literal shit.
Literal shit.
And it blows my mind. Like, as an outdoorsman, like, I've never been like, all right, man, I'm in camp. Like, I'm just going to take 3 steps over here and take a shit. I'm one of those, like, secretive mountain shitters. Like, I'll walk for like 15 minutes. I got to have a view. I got to find the right rock or log. Like, I got to set. When I'm taking a shit in the woods, I got to set the scene, right?
Yep.
Then I go to somebody, I'm like, bro, you just shit right here? Like, camps, I could smell it.
Yeah.
Like, and it blows my mind. But I've been to you pull up in areas, and you're just like, what were these people doing here?
Right.
Like, you don't just, you can walk 5 minutes or a minute down the riverbank, downwind from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you're in these canyons. The wind's blowing one way, like straight down.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's one group.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, yeah,
another.
yeah.
You know,
Everybody's guilty
I
of
know
it.
the jet boat community does it sometimes too.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts because then I got to deal with it.
Yeah. The repercussions.
I get the phone call.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, we found this. Did you know whose boat this is? I'm like, I'm not going to tell you whose boat it is, but I'll put the word out that knock it off.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't do that to somebody, but it's getting to a point where a lot of new people are coming in and trying to just bringing it with them. Just bringing it with them.
That's the problem I feel right now, especially, you know, we know the new people moving everywhere that are ruining everything. But the problem is they're just uneducated on mountain etiquette, hunting etiquette, river etiquette. It's the etiquette that these people have no idea. Like, you run in. I mean, I can't speak on like river boating, but like if you're hunting and you're parked somewhere and you're glassing and you're sitting on a point, and then these guys will just pull up next to you, and you're like, fuck off. I get it. It's public land. Everybody has the right to be there, but like, give me some distance. Like, why are we both 50 yards from each other when I was here before sunup, and then you guys come rolling in well after sunrise? Got a late start. I'm in here trying to glass, and now you're just like gonna roll up in your ATV, and it's like, where are you from? You know, and it's, you can always tell, and I'm sure it's the same thing on the river.
Oh yeah.
As far as it comes down to just being uneducated and not knowing the proper etiquette of how to deal with certain things or just other people.
Yep. Yeah. We'll be sitting there fishing, and you know, boat will come up and park, you know, in the same hole.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm gonna be here for like an hour if I don't catch anything, and then you can have it.
Yeah.
You know, no problem. But don't pull up that close to me.
Yep.
You know, it is the etiquette. It's all etiquette, and you know, we have river etiquette. We even have videos out there of river etiquette.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Educating people, huh?
Yeah, I actually got to go film another one here soon about the camping etiquette in Hell's Canyon.
Why is that? What's going on in Hell's Canyon?
Well, just proper camping. You know, having fire pans and and you know, the porta potties, toilets. I mean, shoot, people they're using honey pots, buckets. I heard of one the other day that just drove me nuts, and the guy got a ticket because he didn't have a lid on his honey pot, so he would just
shit in a bucket and then he's
poop in a bucket.
Just put it in his boat.
Yeah, no lid.
That's interesting.
And it's like, that doesn't work. So we got a ticket for it, which
rightfully so.
We should get a ticket.
Yeah.
You know, I had another friend that didn't have any, but he said, well, my cooler's right there and it locks. It works. It works as long as it locks.
I mean, I feel like I'd water dump before I shit in my cooler.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be doing it in my cooler, but he had a point. So there's always a way around everything. But with etiquette, even just shutting down for rafters, you know, that are floating down the river. Downriver has a right of way. It's always been that way. and you just shut down for them. You don't need to blast by them.
Yeah.
And just let them go by.
2 minutes, you're back on plane, you're going again.
Yeah. And then some of the rafters wave us on and say, yeah, keep going. We just went through this huge rapid and got all wet. It doesn't matter. Little wave.
Yeah, right.
You know, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
And that's one thing we got to do is respect each other, you know. And
Is there a lot of beef between the two, motorized and non-motorized, or have you seen it gotten? Is there?
oh yeah, there's always beef with it, but it's gotten better when you start explaining to them what.
Are motorized the worst? I feel like you jet boat guys would be the biggest pricks on the water.
I think it's a matter of perspective on you know, which side you're looking on.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it is, just perspective.
Always is.
You know, you could say the same thing about bow hunters and rifle hunters.
God,
you know?
yeah.
Which is more humane? Don't know.
Rifle. I'm anti-bow hunting. I think bow hunting should be banned. I'm going on the record. I'll say it.
That's fair.
I'm serious, dude. After last year, I watched every single client wound an elk. It was disgusting, man. It's absolutely disgusting to watch what bow hunters do.
Really?
Dude, I mean, as a guide, like, and I'll probably get heat for this, but I don't care, man. If you spent any time guiding archery hunts, it's disgusting of how many animals. Granted, animals get wounded with rifle, but like you can follow up shot, you can do a Texas heart shot, just put another round in it, slow it down, we'll find it, we'll get another shot. Man, it's so sad to sit here and you work so hard and you watch these animals and you study and you learn them and you know their habitats and what they're doing, and then when the rut's kicking off, you know these animals inside and out. And you get some guy that comes out and brags about how he shoots 1,000 arrows a day and he's ready and Cam Hanes this and I run this, and then they gut punch an elk at 15 yards. Like, how? I could throw a fucking rock and hit this thing behind the shoulder. You just gut punched it at 15 yards. And then you watch this thing jump on some private and the guy won't let you come get it and just rots out in a field, or you don't ever see the elk again. Like, hopefully you might see it limping around in rifle season so you might be able to get a shot. Yeah, dude, I am... And people will probably be blown away by hearing this. Like, I bow hunt, like, you know, but at the same time, like if it's not there, like, okay, but I get it. Then when you're buying these hunts and you're going on an expensive hunt, there's the pressure and you want to come home. You don't want to come home from some expensive hunt empty-handed, but like, dude, I would much rather send a client home without an opportunity than wounding something, you know? But it's like literally last year, the year before, like, not one archery client. And then people are like, well, that's how's it my fault? Like, dude, I had this elk was 15 yards, went broadside. Like, I got to walk the arrow and stick it in for you. Like, and these guys come unglued. And so, and the majority of the problem is a lot of guys aren't Western hunters.
No.
So they don't know, they're used to sitting in tree stands. They got their shooting lanes cut. They sit there and they make a noise. Deer stops. They shoot it. Everything's. They come out west, man, and it just everything comes unglued. Sorry, that was kind of a little tangent.
No, you're good.
I'll get on a
I
whole
love
fucking
you.
topic on that one because, dude, bow hunting to me, I feel like you should either have to go through a qualification, improve, like after doing like a physically fit, short little workout, and then have to shoot accurately because I mean you're running and gunning out here out west. Nothing is ever just sitting still. Barely ever does it ever line up where you're like, holy shit, it's gonna walk right by, you know? And then to watch how many animals are wounded, and like that's just me, my little clients I have, not talking. I talk to all my guide buddies, like, hey, and I don't know if you know James Nash, Six Ranch Outfitters. He's got podcast. Anyways,
Yeah.
one of my best friends, dudes. I love the dude, and we talked. I'm like, how's your archery season? He's like, fucking kill me, like. No, there's some murderers with a bow, but I mean, if you're not, God, I've seen way more animals disappear with an arrow in them than I have a bullet.
Yeah. Well, I'm a rifle hunter. I'm not a bow hunter. I have a bow, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'm an opportunistic guy. I'll club the fuck out of something if I had the opportunity. If it was a season, I'm doing it. You know, like that's how people are like, oh, rifle or bow. I'm like, dude, if I had to tie a knife to a stick and that was my option, like I'm gonna do it. If it's a slingshot, I'm using it. But
I've seen you do that.
Yeah, I actually have done that. But you know, the old days. Yeah. But yeah, it's the same thing with everything, I bet. But yeah, that's my thoughts on freaking bow hunting. I don't even know how we got from rafting and boats to bow hunting.
Hey, that's why I like listening to your podcast.
It's wild chaos, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
You listen to it?
I listen to it all the time.
Man, we have a subscriber. Are you subscribed or you just listen?
No, I'm subscribed. Spotify.
We're moving up. All right. Now, if we can get 2 or 3 more, we might hit double digits.
See, I like supporting my friends, man.
Yeah,
I
same,
do.
dude.
I really do. It means a lot watching it. And, we've gotten to know each other for quite a few years now,
Yeah.
and it's been fun. I mean, watching your kids grow up.
Yeah.
You throwing them off the top of the Big Red.
Oh, yeah.
At the lake. That was fun.
Yeah, dude, it's been a good ride, dude. Like, I mean, and that's why I want to sit here, and I know you know these rivers. I mean, more than anything. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because it's fascinating to me, because I don't know it. And I think that's the cool part about this podcast, is just having an ordinary podcast with just extraordinary people and cool stories and backgrounds and beliefs and how they were raised. And, like, I mean, who would ever have thought, like, jet boat racing is a thing? You know,
right.
I mean, I'm sure there's people that listen to this who are like, but we're going to have to get some photos and some videos up when we post this, because, I mean, the boats you guys are racing are just...
Yeah, I'll send you some more, or airdrop them, whatever I need to do.
Yeah,
I have tons. It's
Yep.
man, I even have, I would buy for our GoPros. We'd buy a GoPro every year.
Yeah.
Just because they updated them. And stuff.
Yeah, right.
And I would actually buy the cards, the biggest ones I could get, and we'd fill them up. And I wouldn't download them onto the computer. I wouldn't do any of that. I would just leave them on there and we'd go back and watch them through the card.
That's probably the best way to ever do it.
And just go buy new ones. I would never, take them off.
Yep.
And so we have all this footage of
I bet.
just crazy stuff.
I mean, you guys were one of the first people to ever rock the Wild Chaos as like a sponsor on your boat.
Yep, we did. You did sponsor us. We were Wild Chaos.
That was wild, man. I mean, you guys were crushing it then.
Yeah, that was in our winning streak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys were having fun doing it.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I kind of got out of it was we started getting beat quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it was just something didn't sit right, something didn't feel right. And one of the guys we were racing against, he sold his boat, and the guy who bought it came up to me at the race because we were racing against him. And he's like, yeah, I just thought I'd let you know. It had a cheater motor in it. So they modified the motor, which you're not allowed to do in our class.
Oh, really?
And so that didn't sit right with us, like, at all. They put a different cam in it, and the guy who bought it told me that.
Really?
He's like, yeah, we found out. And I was like, appreciate that.
So you're racing against guys that are just modifying things and they're not supposed to be, which makes it tough for you, which makes it not fun.
That guy we know did.
Oh, okay.
We know that guy.
Yeah.
Just from what the guy told me.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, honesty like that. But yeah, it happens in everything. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
Everything.
For sure.
Go over to the speedway and there's people yelling and screaming and cheating.
Yeah.
It's in every sport.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, then you add parents into it, then it just amplifies everything so much worse.
Yeah.
When there's kids involved. So what's next for you besides building boats? I mean, what's that looking like for you? How's business?
Business is booming.
Yeah.
We're not really building anything right now.
You're just repairing?
It's just repair and modifications. Guys are buying old boats for like $20,000 and then having us putting, 20 more grand into it and revamping these old boats.
Instead of building a $300,000 boat.
Yeah.
So it is affordable. If you wanted to
is.
get in into the rafting, I guess, the jet boat side of things. So these guys are going older. What are you guys doing? Stripping them down and just kind of redoing them, or are they, okay?
We've got one in there right now that the guy it sat for 16 years,
Really?
and a pack rat got into it.
Oh, God.
And it was crazy when we cleaned it.
Those are some of the nastiest creatures.
It was gross. One side of the boat under the floor was his all his food. The other side was his toilet, and it all just kind of souped into the bottom, and it was disgusting. But we're just revamping that, and he's basically going to be paying what he bought the boat for back in the day.
Oh,
Because he bought it brand new in the 90s.
And it's just sat for 16, or how long?
It was 16 years. Yeah, it just sat. He was overseas, and just sat, and he just brings it over. Found out his engine was bad, and we're almost done with it, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just guys remodifying everything, and you can take
Makes sense.
Yeah, I like doing it. You
Yeah.
know, we're doing working on my dad's boat. He built when he worked for another company. He built this boat,
Yeah.
and it got stolen out of a storage unit in Eagle. And this guy who owned it, they found it, and it was just stripped. And so the guy who owned it called us and said, "Hey, I've got a hull. Are you interested?" So we bought it.
Yeah.
And now we're putting it together for my dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we're revamping that one, but it's kind of cool. It comes full circle.
Yeah.
You know, an old boat that he built. And
Old boat he built got stolen. Now he gets to own it back.
yeah, he owns it. He owns it now, and it's been fun.
Yeah.
And I just enjoy what I do. I really
Good,
do.
man.
I don't want to do anything else. Never.
It's in your blood. Even if you wanted to, you're coming back to it, I feel like.
Yeah.
What about Grady?
Well, Grady's doing his thing. He really is. Yeah, he's enjoying life. His stepdaughters are out of the house, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, sounds like they're gonna move back over here, and but yeah, he's working for Allied
Good.
and
Yeah.
and doing really good at that. And oh man, worst thing that'll happen to him, he ruptured his patella tendon.
Really?
Ruptured it.
So he snapped his kneecap. I watched a dude blow out both of his on the most crazy. We were in Texas. I don't know if you remember Oz and Tig from 13th Hour. They're survivors from 13th Hour. We're out in Texas. We're doing like this crazy heli hunt. We're just out there just having a great time. And this guy who's like a sponsor came out, and we set up this course, like a little shooting course. We had to like chug a beer. It started with you chugging a beer. It's probably the first red flag of the day. You had to chug a beer, jump this cattle guard, jump a fence, run, and there's like this slight slope that came down to this porch that overlooked this edge, and then you had to shoot, whatever. Well, this guy was like a sponsor and big fan, and he's like, "I want to try." We're like, "All right, yeah, go ahead." But like, I'm talking like there's like the grade through the lawn to the porch is like this. Like it's just like a slight little. And as he slowed down to go take the kneeling position, both his patella tendons snapped. Oh. And he hits the ground, and he's like, my knees, my knees. I was like, "You mean your ankles?" Because I didn't know. I thought he rolled his ankle. How he felt, it looked like he rolled his ankle. And when we rolled him over, his kneecaps were like on the bottom of his thighs, like up. They shot.
Yeah,
they both
they
pulled
went up. Yeah.
And we were like, "Oh my God!" And so yeah, he blew out both of his knees at once and had to get double knee surgery. And in the middle of it was right before summer, so all summer he was fully like legged, straight braced out, and like couldn't do shit. I felt so bad. That was a long recovery. How the hell did he do his?
He stepping down the stairs.
And it just went,
Just pow. Just went pow. And it went up. And
gives me the heebie-jeebies, dude.
yeah, he was down for quite a while. He actually just got cleared.
Really?
He just got cleared to
God.
No brace, no nothing. And it was 3 months ago when he had surgery.
That's one of those things that I am cool on never having happen to me, especially after watching it.
Oh, that's. Ugh.
Yeah.
When he told me he did that, and I was like, what?
Yeah. No thanks.
Apparently, it's really hard to do. Apparently, that's like one of the hardest things to do is rupture that.
Yeah.
And it was like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And
No.
you learn something new every day.
No, not with that. I'm good.
Yeah, but no, he's great, and I'm getting married.
Congratulations. Same girl?
Yep.
I know it's been a little bit since we talked.
Yeah.
Is this the one that I got absolutely trashed on the boat that one time? I just kept feeding her shots,
Yes.
and she threw up in Josh's boat?
Yes. It is. You know Katie's gonna listen to this, right?
You guys were like fresh dating at that point, weren't you? Yeah, she thought she could hang, and I went shot for shot with her, and she ended up puking everywhere, and you were not happy over that. Josh wasn't happy because she puked in his boat.
It was his boat, yeah. And it was
But he's a clean freak.
yep.
I was like, "What is she doing? This girl needs to get a hold of herself." And I'm just feeding her. I was
looking at you going, dude, stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
I remember that.
Yeah, that did happen. Yep, she actually, after that, she quit drinking.
I probably brought her to Jesus.
You did. You did. So
You're welcome.
yes,
It all ended up paying off.
yeah. She quit drinking. So hey, I'm still with her. Love her to death.
Good.
You know.
Good for you guys.
She's-
When's the wedding? I'm ordained, just to let you know that. Yep. You name it.
I am too. But yeah, her the lady that introduced us is gonna.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, but I appreciate that. I totally would have hit you up.
For anybody, for a small fee, I am ordained in every religion. I don't remember what the website was that I got ordained off of, but I am certified. I've married a couple people.
So have I.
Yeah,
I'm ordained too.
I did a vet, and he's missing an arm and a leg, and I had all my notes and I put them in the Titanic book. So I was up there giving the service. I'm holding the Titanic, and I was like, "Don't let this be a representation of your marriage." And like the whole time I was just throwing jokes, and I was like, "Please turn and hold hand and nub," and like. And his wife just loses it. The whole audience is dying laughing. Like, but it was like tasteful. It wasn't like too much. I felt like I could have gone way harder on it, but Britt was like, "Don't you fucking ruin." She like had me like a little kid by my ear before I was gonna do this, and I was like, okay. And the grandparents came up. They're like, "This is the greatest wedding." I mean, I had everybody just dying, like rolling. The whole crowd was just rolling the whole time. And so, yeah, afterward, I was like, all the parents were coming up, and grandparents were like, "This is the greatest wedding. This is the funniest wedding I've ever been to." And I just made everything just a good time for them.
Those are the funnest ones.
Yeah.
When it's a good time and it's laughing and joking, it's not all serious
Yeah.
and stuff. That's.
I mean, weddings suck. Nobody wants to go to a wedding. At least me. I think I'd go to yours. I'm not saying don't invite me, but I'm just saying, like, God, especially hosting a wedding, man.
That's
Worst.
yeah.
The worst.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we're talking on this.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
know,
dude.
right? Yeah.
We're going to. So, thank you so much coming on and filling us in on a little bit of the jet boat racing community here. And then I wanted to say the Northeast again. I don't know why. Maybe because we're supposed to be going home. But out here in the Northwest, dude, it's pretty awesome. And I'm glad you guys are fighting the fight to keep the waters open to everybody, not just jet boaters, but to recreational, camping, hiking, hunting. I mean, you name it. You guys are out there fighting for their rights. And it's a pretty awesome deal.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me on. Third weekend in April in Riggins is the race every single year.
Really? And,
Salmon
you guys go. You guys kind of have to, huh?
Yeah, we go. Yeah, we rent a house and everything like that. But yeah, third weekend in April if anybody wants to check it out.
Keep me posted on that. That'd be cool to bring the kids up, the family up to that and watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks, dude.
Hey, thanks,
Appreciate
buddy.
your time, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
You too.